Hey everybody, welcome back. This is part 2 to painting Cabanda. In this episode, we're finishing off the wings. I do want to mention right off the bat that we are using an airbrush, so if you're not comfortable using an airbrush, I definitely recommend that you practice and get comfortable before you tackle a model like this. The airbrush is important because it gives us a smooth coat, and that is important when it comes to things like wings and skin, and it'll allow us to gradually build up a texture from there. So without further ado, let's dive right in and I'll walk you through the video. Right off the bat, you can see I'm starting with Scrofulous Brown. That is a game color paint, and I really love the yellowy brown of this paint. And it takes many coats with an airbrush to get it opaque, but that's what we want, is to build up a slow base coat. I'm using a Sotar 2020. I find that it handles details and base coating decently. Definitely there are better brushes out there for a base coat, that's for sure. All right, so to add a little bit of texture to the wings so that they don't look plastic and flat, we're actually going to add Reikland Flesh Shade to the entire wing surface, and that'll kind of give us a sub-skin, veiny, kind of textury feel, so that it's doesn't look like we're actually using plastic. Make sure that you get that in all the nooks and crannies, all the flat surfaces, and don't worry, we're going to go back over it in a minute with the airbrush. All right, I said we were going to go back over, and we're just going back to Scrofulous Brown, and we're going to cover up and take advantage of the translucent nature of an airbrush, and you're going to want to leave a little bit showing through the coat to give it that subsurface veiny kind of texture, if you will. There's a couple of thin coats, use your eyes, but this is a learned art form definitely with an airbrush. All right, game color Filthy Brown. We're going to shoot this just into the shadows on the wings. You're not going to use a lot, you just want a little bit of a tip. All right, Dark Flesh from Game Color, and this is going to be your highlight. So on all of the tip-top parts of the wings, all of the edges, you're just going to blast with a little bit of this. Don't go overboard, but you can always bounce back and forth between the other colors if you need to. This is just going to kind of add like a shine, translucency appearance to the wing, if that makes sense. Just ever so slightly, and as you can see, this is kind of what the finished effect will look like. All right, now we're doing Khorne Red from Games Workshop, Khorne Red on the physical part of the model. What is it? The structure of the wings, if you will, the fingers of the wings. I have absolutely no idea what those are called. Khorne Red. You have to be really careful. This did take me quite a while because you don't want to ruin the beautiful airbrush job that you just did. Corvus Black, we're going to use that on the talons that come off the edges of the wings. All right, this is where you're going to really tie the model together. Korabug Crimson is going to go over all of the red areas, obviously, but then once we get back to the regular wing part of the model, we're still going to stick with the crimson, except what we're going to do is we're going to use medium, and we're going to thin out the crimson, and we're going to brush it all over the wing texture. You would rather have this too thin than too thick, and just slowly build it up. The idea is that the highest peaks are very thin, and then the closer we get into the fingers of the wings, if you will, the red portions, it's going to be darker, and this will help sell a distressed look of the skin being pulled nice and tight. So just kind of observe what I'm doing over the course of this and just replicate it, but again, make sure that it's really thin, and it gets darker as you go towards the red portions. All right, after that's done, we're going in with Evil Sunz Scarlet, and we're going to do edge highlighting and layer it on the Khorne red after all that's dry. This is going to start to bring the model to life. All right, Kiselev Flesh. We're going to use that as an edge highlight on all of the sections on the wing. So all the raised veins around all the holes on the edges. And this, I think right here is where the wing just really begins to pop. And as you can see, the wings are done. Kind of a short video, but it really doesn't take much. It just does take a long time. If you follow these steps, again, you're gonna want to practice your airbrush skills, but that should get you most of the way done through the model. One thing I do want to mention with Kabanda in particular is because it is a resin cast model, the gap on the wings is kind of noticeable. So I went in with some putty. I'm not exactly sure what type of putty this was. And then I painted it. I started with a base coat and then Khorne red, layered it all the way back up, and just kind of fixed the area so that it was seamless. Well, that's it, guys. I hope you enjoyed this two-part series on painting Kabanda. This was one of my favorite models that I've done to date, and I really hope you enjoy watching it as much as I enjoyed painting it. So we'll see what comes to the hobby bench next, and I'll see you on the next episode.